Ladies and gentlemen, I have a watch, and it's not very well known, or not known at all, in the budget watch community. Sure, you've heard about the Seiko 5s and the Orient Makos and the Citizen Eco Drives, but have you heard about the Casio Edifices? I don't think so. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Anush, host of the WatchMan, and today I'm here to solve that very issue. In this video, we're going to take an extended look into what just might be one of the best hidden gems in the watch market today. This is the video review of the Casio Edifice EF-539 Chronograph. Alright guys, so let's start off with the physical characteristics of this watch. Get my notebook. So this watch has a case diameter of 48.5 millimeters, so it's a big watch, right? And so this is one of my only gripes with the watch is its size. But then again, this is a subjective thing, and some people may like the big case sizes. I don't. I like small case sizes. I like case sizes which are around 40, 42. This is really big for me, and honestly I wouldn't have bought it, but that time when I bought this watch, I wasn't exactly a watch enthusiast, so I kind of just bought it, and but it's an acquired taste. It's certainly an acquired taste. So yeah, that's 48.5. Next thing is we have the weight. Now the thing about this watch is it's a really heavy watch. This weighs 198 grams, and it is insanely heavy. You can probably kill somebody with, or seriously injure them if you threw this watch at them. I don't recommend that, I'm just saying. But yeah, and it's really surprising for a watch at this price of to be this solidly built, so to speak. Because, and all of my friends, whenever they want to see the watch, and when I take it off my wrist and I give it to them, their hand always goes, oh, because they're just so surprised at how heavy this watch is. So if you don't like heavy watches, then this isn't for you. This definitely isn't for you. All right. So moving on, we have a water resistance of 100 meters. So you can take this out swimming. I've taken it out for swimming many times, and I've had absolutely no problem with this watch for the last 5 years. So actually, one of the reasons why this watch is so beat up is because this watch is 5 years old. I've used it for like 5 years, and I've showered with it, I've swam with it, I've gone to like 5-6 feet deep, and nothing's happened to this watch. So it's great if you want a time lapse or something, and I use it all the time for doing things like that. The only thing is it's really heavy, so yeah, might be pretty uncomfortable to swim with it. All right, moving on, we have a mineral glass, and at this price point you can't expect anything more. The glass, I'll give Casio one thing: the glass is astoundingly clear, and in proper light, it just it looks so clear. Sometimes it looks like there isn't even a glass at times. So even though it's a mineral glass, it's a really good mineral glass. And so yeah, I mean, it's not a sapphire, and as you can see, I've got my fair share of scratches from its use on the watch. So yeah, this price point got expected. All right, we have a screw down back, pretty standard stuff, and an accuracy, and this is from Casio's official site. This is an accuracy of plus minus 20 seconds a month, but it's way better than that, and we'll cover that when we get to the movement aspect of the review. So yeah, these are all the physical characteristics of the watch. And well, I must say guys, this is a really really well built watch. I mean, it's just solid. It's like it's insanely heavy, and it feels really premium. And the thing is, I actually bought this for $70 like 4-5 years ago, and now it's 120, around 120. But back when I bought it, it was, you know, $70. And by God, this beats any $70 watch I've ever held to this day. I mean, seriously guys, this is just really well built. I've thrown it around, I've abused it, as you can see from the, you know, many scratches on my case, and it's landed on the floor many a times from, you know, my waist height, and nothing's ever happened to it. I have not had a single problem with this watch in 5 years. It is amazingly well built. So for the build quality and the water resistance and all of those, you know, all of those things, I give this watch a straight 10 on 10. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, even my Seiko 5 had a few issues. I mean, I got this last year, and it had an issue with the plate being pushed up, and I had to send it. It was not a big issue, but still it had an issue. This, it's just 5 years, no issue. It's perfect. So props to Casio for their amazing build quality. All the watches have great build quality, but this one really takes the cake. So yeah. So guys, let's talk about the movement of this watch now. The issue with, you know, less advertised Casio models, so to speak, is that they don't release much information or any information at all about the movements they use in the watch. So like we have to assume that it's, or most likely, you know, it's going to be a Japanese quartz movement, and basically I would say like 80-90% of quartz watches use Miyota movements. And you know, there's nothing wrong with Miyota movements, they're excellent. I think, you know, in my opinion, the thing about quartz movements is that it's not about the movement itself per se to a certain degree. It's more about how the manufacturer integrates the movement or builds the movement into the case. So this is what really separates something like a Casio from a Daniel Wellington, let's say. You know, it's really poorly done. You know, in the Daniel Wellington, seals will be bad, the gaskets, I don't think they even will be a gasket, you know. Movements will be really small, so etc. You know, things like that. Well, and it's built really well into the case in my Casio. So you'll obviously have a lot less quality of life and, you know, servicing issues, so to speak. About accuracy, as I said, officially on the website it's plus minus 20 seconds a month, but in reality it's way better than that. You know, for some reason Japanese manufacturers really like to downplay the accuracy of their movements. I don't know why. Grand Seiko does this thing where they say their watches, like you know, like the spring drive watches are like plus minus 1 second a month or something, but in actuality they're more like plus minus 1 second a year. So yeah, it's insane. I don't know why they do that, but still. So I haven't timed this watch on a time grapher, but because I haven't had to. Like, I think it's barely lost a minute since I first got it. And guys, I have not replaced the batteries in this watch even once. So this is running on the same battery that it was running on when I got it in the box like 4-5 years ago. So awesome movement, you know, no complaints from my side. And so let's get on with the features of this movement, you know, what it does. So as you can see, it does have a date function. I don't know, the hour hand is kind of covering it, but I don't know if you can see it. So yeah, it is pretty small, and I don't really mind it. It's not something that really adds to the watch or subtracts or detracts from the watch. I think it's just there. I think it's just like added convenience. Some people may not like it. And it's certainly quite small. It's not that easy to read. So it's all right. It doesn't bother me too much, and I'm indifferent basically. So it doesn't matter if it's there or not there. So moving on to the main thing about the movement is the chronograph. So as you guys can, so this is a 12-hour chronograph. Yeah, 12 hours. So you can measure time for up to 12 hours. So as you can see, this is the main seconds, chronograph hour. Main seconds, chronograph minutes, and chronograph hours. And there's main seconds and this big one, that's obviously chronograph seconds. You use that in tandem with the tachymetric scale. Let's not go off topic here. This is a 12-hour chronograph, and I think that's really great. I think many manufacturers don't give they usually have like 60-minute chronographs or something of that sort. I know most entry-level Seiko chronographs only have 60-minute chronographs, but those ones do have like 1/10 or like 1/100th of a second. But I find these 12-hour chronographs a lot more useful, because I can use them to time tests, 3-hour tests or 1-hour tests. So it's a lot more useful for me in that sense, at least. So now let's move on to the reason why this watch, where I bought this watch, and the reason why everybody who I show this watch is incredibly enamored by it, so to speak, is its dial. This watch has the most intricately detailed dial I've seen in a watch this price range, period. There is literally no competition from any other watch. I mean, the dial may look a little flashy and gaudy to somebody who prefers, like simple field watch dials, like on my Seiko 5. But even they can't deny how really impressively detailed the watch is. I mean, especially given its price. So when you look at the watch, one of the first things you notice is that the use of blue really stands out, the color blue. So the thing I like the most about how blue is used is it's used very judiciously. It's not overdone at all, and it's not underdone. It's just perfect. They really did put a lot of thought into designing the watch, because as you can see, the first let's say blue area of the watch is the bezel, just outside the tachymetric scale, and the second blue area that you notice is on the two chronograph subdial registers. And the third area of blue, it's a lot more subtler, but the R's on the R's hand, right there. So the great thing about the use of blue is, as I was saying, is that it really helps the chronograph parts of this watch pop. So reading the chronograph becomes a breeze, and so I really like the fact that, so in a sense, in that sense, it serves both an aesthetic as well as a functional purpose, and that's what I really like about the use of blue on this watch. It's really well thought out, and it's really well designed, and huge props to Casio for that. So one thing you guys might have noticed, get in focus. So one thing you guys might not have noticed actually is the Guilloche effect on the subdial, and it is absolutely beautiful. My God, just look at that. I mean, wow, it's incredible. So the Guilloche effect happens on all three subdials: the second subdial, the chronograph minute subdial, and the hour subdial. Let me just try and focus it. Oh, there it is. There it is. Try and focus. Yeah, there it is. So it just really adds a lot of texture to the watch, and the entire dial is actually textured. So as you can see, we have this very subtle guilloche effect. I mean, it's absolutely insane how much detail Casio managed to pack into this dial. So as you can see on the inner dial, it's the same, you know, guilloche-like effect. Like, you know, you have lines. I don't exactly know what that's called, but it looks absolutely insane. And you know, the thing about it is, if Casio hadn't put the textured inner dial, it would still be a great watch. It doesn't really matter. But you know, it's just small little details like that which you can't even see unless you're like this close to the watch, that really make the watch special in my opinion. And as you can see, this entire dial is textured. And so talking about the outer dial texture, the lines are a lot more, well, I'll say pronounced. Get this to focus. The lines are a lot more pronounced, as you can see. Really, I mean, it's just gorgeous. I mean, just look at that. It's insane. And I bought this for $70. I mean, can you imagine? It's absolutely incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And everything is printed with the utmost precision. You can see the Edifice logo and Casio logo. I mean, I'm using like a 10x macro lens, and it's still really sharp. So Casio really put a lot of effort into this dial, and you have to commend them for that. And yeah, it's absolutely incredible. Again, a few more things I'd just like to say about the dial. It does have applied markers, as you guys can see, and the use of applied markers is done really well, because they're not just applied, they're kind of arched. If you can make out, you know, let me just get this to focus. Yeah, as you can see that they're like arched, and so what this does is it creates a dial that's very three-dimensional, so to speak. One more thing I'd like to point out is that it's just how precisely the seconds hand lands on the markers each and every time. I mean, just look at that. It lands on the mark. So let me just get focused. Yeah, as you can see, it lands on the mark each and every single time. Pretty impressive for this, for a watch this price. Same thing with the chronograph. And let me just engage the chronograph. Yeah, as you can see, it's just perfect. It lands on the mark every single time. Very impressive. And as I said, this is, you know, again, Casio doesn't need to make such a precise dial, because, well, why would they? Most manufacturers at this price range don't, but they did. They went the extra mile. So the other interesting thing about this watch, which is worth mentioning, apart from the beautiful dial, is the case design. Now, this is also, you know, I've not seen this this kind of case being done properly on enthusiast watches. I don't think it's ever been done on enthusiast watches at this price point. Usually you see this kind of you know, this integrated bracelet AP Royal Oak ish design on fashion watches, but it's done like terribly there. But here Casio did a really good job, and this is where I have a big gripe with the watch, not with the case design but the bracelet, and I'll come to that later. Now first let's talk about the case design. So as you guys can see, this is a very big case, as I've mentioned already. So if you don't like big watches, this watch isn't for you. Straight up, you're going to hate this watch. But for it is a really well done case, and as you can see, it is a very, you know, angular case. So as I said, it reminds me a lot of the AP Royal Oak or the new, you know, the Bulova Precisionist series watches. And it's so, as you can see, there are many the case is very angular, so it's cut in many places, and it's very hard, gritty, industrial, and it's bold. You know, it's very bold. This is not a subtle watch, not a subtle case by any stretch of the imagination, and so yeah, that is going to be subjective, but for me, I personally do like the case design of the watch. It's pretty good. So now let's talk about the finishing, which is decent. You know, it's not, don't expect anything great. This is after all, I got this watch for $70. Now it's like around $100 on Amazon. You can still I think pick it up, you know, on sale, in sales for around how much I got it for. So don't expect anything great. As you can see, it's finishing is pretty decent, as you can see. And one interesting detail that Casio added is the alternate brushed finishing on the bracelet, on this aspect of the watch. So as you can see, this part of the watch is brushed, and this is polished, and that flows seamlessly into the bracelet. So, and as you can see, we have a signed crown. So again, another great detail, and as you can see also the crown is also contoured, so it makes gripping it really easy. So now let's talk about the bracelet of the watch, which is it's basically a part of the case, more or less, and this is where some people's opinions are going to differ. I personally, even though I like the look that this integrated bracelet design gives, I'm not a fan of the fact that you cannot swap this for like a NATO or a leather strap or just any other bracelet for that matter. Because the thing about cheaper watches with bracelets is they tend to have horrid bracelets. And now don't get me wrong, the bracelet on this thing is not horrid at all. It's certainly far better than those the bracelets you get on Seiko's. It's pretty sturdy, as you can see, and the clasp is also really, it's really nice. I mean, it's solid, you know, double lock. So as you, that's a satisfying click, and the clasp has never come off. It's a really well built clasp for that for this price point. But as I said, is pretty good for the price. It does rattle a bit, as you can hear. I mean, let me just put it up to my microphone. But you know, that's kind of expected at this price, really. So that is my only real issue with the watch, that and the case size. But the case size is as I said, you know, those are subjective things. And if we take a look at the back, so as you can see, back, nothing special, you know, your regular. So one thing I have to give props to Casio for is that this is not etched. This is like graved into the back. I know Citizen does you know, just laser etches their watches, you know, the cheaper watches, the ones in the US and UK market at least, and doesn't engrave them. So the backs do wear off after some time, but you know, you're not going to have a problem with this because this is engraved. Concluding remarks are, I only didn't like two things about this watch, which are the integrated bracelet. I just like versatility, and obviously my hands sweat a lot, so I like having the NATO option. And number two, the case size. Again, I prefer smaller case sizes. You may prefer larger case sizes. It's all subjective. People don't give Casio enough credit. I personally think that in this range, in the 100, or not 100, in like the $10 to $300 range, Casio is basically the undisputed leader in quality alongside Citizen. You know, Citizen's watches tend to be slightly more expensive, so I'm giving that budget crown to Casio. Guys, thank you so much for checking my review out of this very underrated gem. Please leave a like if you like the video. If you want to give me any constructive criticism, as this is my first video, Alright then, this is Anush, host of the WatchMan. I'll see you guys for the next one.